Oh, hello. I need hot water. Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome back to the brewery. My name's Adam. This is the ever fantastic Josh hiding just off camera. Today we are going to be brewing what my buddy calls like the cheat code for making malty beer. One of the ways that I think is the best way to make kind of big, rich, malt-forward beers is really just to make a first runnings beer. In the brewing process, we have the initial mash-in that kind of creates that first portion of wort or malt sugar water that we're going to be running to the kettle. And then we sparge it and continue to rinse that grain of sugar. As you do that, you're going to be pulling tannins and some potentially other undesirables out of the wort. That first wort that you make is really the richest and best wort of the whole thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to make essentially a half batch of beer today. We're going to use a little bit more grain than we normally would, but then just use that first portions of the runnings to make kind of as malt-rich beer as we can. Josh is sanitizing parts. Maggie's waving above her head. It's going to be an awesome day. All right, so we're making beer today called Covert. And what Covert is a Schwarzbier. A lot of times it can also kind of be thought of as a black Pilsner. And so I think a lot of people are familiar with Pilsner. It's kind of straw to yellow, pretty crisp and bright, dry. This is a darker version of that. We're taking things a little bit probably out of style with it. We have a little bit of Munich malt in there, which isn't too crazy. I do have a small amount of low color crystal malt in there to pick up the body a little bit. We do have a little bit of elevated bitterness in this, but we're still looking for a relatively balanced beer. We want a really clean lager. We're using, for the first time, I'm going to have to look up the equivalent of it, but I'm using the 3470, the Weinstefan lager strain for this beer today. We get that from our friends at Imperial. Check them out. They make great beer. And wait, no, they don't make great beer. They make great yeast. We're going to be fermenting it with that, with the 3470 strain, which is notorious for being very, very clean. So it really gets out of the way of everything other than the malt and the hops, lets the water shine, all that stuff. Not a lot of fermentation character to compete with or anything like that. We're going to get mashed in and we're going to get moving through this day. All right, so one of the keys to a beer like Schwarzbier is that you want the dark color, but you don't want a ton of roast. And so what we're using Carafa Special 3 with it. Oh, pardon me. We are using Carafa Special 2 with this from Weyermann. Weyermann is a German maltster that makes a ton of classic German malts. The reason that we're using Carafa Special 2 is special means that it's a roast malt, but they remove the husk from it. That husk holds a lot of kind of harshness, bitterness, and when you use the dehusked, it's a lot smoother. So you get a lot more color, but not as much roast character, and that's what we're looking to achieve with Schwarzbier. Making the Schwarzbier, mixing it up in the mash tun. Look at it mixing up so nicely. Yeah, baby. Making that Schwarzbier. Covert. You heard? Hey, say good morning to Maggie.
Good morning, Maggie. Good morning, Maggie.
Hey, so Maggie's sanitizing the tank this morning. Maggie, if there is one thing that you want people to know today, what is it?
I want people to know that today is Thursday.
Correct. Is there anything else that you want them to know?
That a clean tank is a happy tank.
That's good. I like that. So yeah, Maggie's running Sani. Josh is over here doing smalls, meaning rinsing up all the small parts that we use. He's going to be over here today as we're brewing covert on our American canning line, cutting off a little bit of that Escape Pina Colada beer. That's what's going on today. All right, now let's start recirculating the wort so we can get it grain free. All right, so now we have our recirculation going. We're going to circulate that for 25 minutes in order to clarify it, really meaning to pull a lot of that grain and small particles from the grain, redistribute them to the top of the mash bed, and getting some clean, clear wort that we can run to the kettle. All right, so today for the Schwarzbier, as I mentioned before, we're using a new lager yeast. We are using Global from Imperial. We really use Imperial exclusively for all of our lager yeast for sure. We're typically using a strain from them called Harvest, which I believe is the Augustiner strain. The differences between these two strains, they're there. We've been using Harvest now for over a year, about 18 months, and really enjoyed the results. But I do want to be trying out other strains as well. As far as I understand, this Global strain is kind of the classic 3470 Weihenstephan yeast. It does not flocculate as well, meaning that it does not kind of clump up and fall out of solution as well. It's a little more powdery. And because it stays up in solution in the beer a little bit more easily, it can tend to attenuate or consume more sugar than the Harvest strain that we're using. It also means that it might require a little bit of additional time, cold lagering time, to get that yeast to fall out of solution and to get a bright beer. Anyway, super excited to give it a shot. That's one of the things that I enjoy about doing this, is really getting to know your ingredients and then switching things up and finding out how other things work too. It's one of the things that keep things fresh here. It keeps it enjoyable. So anywho, we are almost done with the recirc and we're gonna start running off to the kettle before you know it. All right, so we're gonna test our sugar on our mash and then let's see where we're at. This is a little bit different. Normally, I'm gonna see a higher number right now. Where'd my phone go? It's in my pocket. It is in my pocket though. So let's check out the numbers on this. I use more water in the mash when I do these first runnings beers. This one I ended up using 2.3 quarts per pound of grain. Usually I'm using 1.5. I use a higher volume of water so I can get the exact volume of wort that I'm looking to get in my kettle. I'm looking to get about 11 barrels today. So let me look up what numbers I hit here. Oh, we're good. We're in the, I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. We're in the low 1050s right now, which is right where I want to be. I'm going to pick up, and that's going to bump up a little bit into the higher portion of the 1050s through the boil. But we'll check back on it, and we'll see where it goes from here. In just a couple minutes, we're going to start our lauter or our runoff to the kettle. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you feel as if you got any value out of the video, please like and subscribe. There are also other videos that you can watch. They're going to maybe be over here or over here. Appreciate you watching.